right, everybody. Welcome into today's boot camp. Thank you all for being able to make it. It's again, I'm your health fitness specialist, Quinn, with Access at Autodesk. Today we are going to do some warm up with a little bit of hip and legs to start off, and then get into just a little bit of 2 circuits, doing some more linear work, so front to back, and then working on some lateral and rotational work as well, getting into the shoulders and the hips, kind of doing a full body boot camp today. So we're going to finish things off with a little bit of stretching as well, and I'm going to do my best to coach you guys through everything that we're doing. All right, so the first exercise we're going to do for our warm-up is the hamstring sweep. So from here, we're going to have one foot pop out in front, pointing the toes up, keeping the knee bent, or keeping the knee straight and not bent. We're going to extend the hands back, behind, reach down towards the heels, and come all the way up. Okay, so again, reaching out behind, sweeping down, and coming all the way up. Keeping that same foot out. And really thinking about, as we're coming down, we want to push those hips back. We're not lowering our chest down with our back, we're keeping the back straight up and driving the hip out to really get that length through the back of the leg. So really working on that hinge of the hip as we drive the hips back, reach down, sweep through the heels. Go ahead and switch feet, getting the other foot forward, hinging the hip back, and sweeping through. Getting a nice long stretch through the back of the leg. Trying to get those hands down towards the heel. More. All right. And from here, we're going to take a big step forward and bring the knee down. We're going to go into a kneeling lunge to open up our hip flexors here. So I want to drive this forward knee out over the toe, trying to drop my pelvis and my hips right down to that ankle that's forward on the ground. Get a nice long stretch, and we're going to move back and forth. So I want you to hold the stretch for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then press back out through all 5 of those forward toes. Coming back up. We'll go through just a couple times and switch it up. And switch legs. So we're really trying to drop those hips down and forward as we drive that knee out over the toe. Keeping our hips nice and square as we move forward. So I'm not really like twisting or opening up, twisting too much or leaning too far to the side, but trying to keep them nice and square in a straight line from start to finish. Really getting into the front of those hips there. All right, and now we're going to go into 7 knee hugs. So standing back up, leaning forward, we're going to reach down, grab the shin, and pull the knee up as we stand back up. Being careful to keep our balance, moving at a nice even pace. Trying to get some good movement here, and again, working on that hip hinge, right? So as we lean forward, we're not just lowering our back down, grabbing the shin, but staying nice and rigid, driving the hips back, and standing up with nice, tall posture. Really working on that big hip movement that allows us for good control there. So as we're moving through, driving those hips back. A few more. and done. Good. Last one for our warm up. We're gonna get down on one knee, and we're gonna get into that same lunge position, and we're gonna open the leg up so that our toes are pointed out at a 90 degree, and then we're gonna do a side lunge from here. Okay, so if you can see it from the side, it's gonna look like this, coming up to 90, opening up, pointing my knees straight out, and doing a side lunge out to the side, okay? So doing a couple reps on each side, starting to work the inside of the hip there, opening things up laterally, pressing that knee out, getting the glutes activated just a little bit, and switching sides. Doing our nice kneeling side lunge here. Two more. And good. All right. Now we're going to get into our first circuit. Our first exercise is going to be standing marches. So you can pick your own pace here, but you want to get a nice working pace, one where you're not moving around too much side to side, but one where you can stay driving straight up and down, engaging the core. You're not moving around too much on your screen, but trying to bring the feet straight back down to a starting point of about hip width. Nice quick pace, really trying to drive those knees up as high as they'll get in a straight line. Let's go, a few more seconds. Trying to bring those feet down into the exact same spot. Nice and explosive. And rest. Good. Next up, we're going to do our reverse lunges. So from a standing point here, we're going to step backwards, keeping our weight over the midpoint of the foot. You're going to bend down, step up, and switch legs. If you want to add a little bit extra challenge, you can lean your chest over that knee, get a little bit more weight over the midpoint of the foot as you come down. But you really want to try and keep that good weight over the midpoint of the foot and thinking about how the back of the leg is working to help stabilize, and you're not putting all your weight onto the toe. When you get all your weight onto the toe, that's how you get quad dominance, which can lead to some pretty severe imbalances through the leg, which can then, injure your knees and your hips, which is quite the opposite of what we want to happen. We'll do a few more here. And done. Nice job. All right. Before we get into our pillar bridge extensions, we're going to do some shoulder retraction to warm up the shoulders. So let's get our hands out in front. Fingers pointed like a James Bond, looking down the gun on the barrel. And you're going to pull shoulders back behind, away from the ears, and push the hands forward, keeping those elbows locked out the whole time. Working on shoulder retraction and extension, just warming up those muscles, stretching them out just a little bit. And good. All right, now we're going to get down into our plank for some plank extensions. So hands directly below the shoulder. We're going to get our feet back nice and wide. So I drop my feet back, one step, two step out. And we're just going one hand out in front, bringing them up, keeping our shoulders square to the floor the whole time. So imagine you got two headlights on your shoulders. You want to shine straight down onto the ground, keeping those shoulders square the whole time, bringing that thumb up to the ceiling and back down. Good, and down. Next up, we've got our shoulder taps. So we're gonna stay in this pillar plank position with our hands on the ground, keeping those feet wide. And we're gonna alternate each side back and forth, making sure we're not swinging our hips from side to side. Keep those hips nice and locked in, get that core working. Shoulders and hips flat. We're not sticking our hips up into the air towards the ceiling, but just getting them nice and level like a tabletop. Few more. And done. Good. Next up, we have our last exercise in the first round. We're going to go into a squatting overhead press. So, in this position, we're going to get our feet about hip width apart, driving the hips back into a squat hold, getting our hands out wide, right by the shoulder, hips pointed, or elbows pointed down to the hips, and we're going to extend straight up, bringing our elbows next to the ear, coming right back down, keeping those shoulder blades pinned back, squeezing and pulling the shoulders away from the ear, even as we extend up. We don't want them creeping up towards our earlobes. We want to keep everything nice and packed into the torso. Let's go a few more. And rest. Good. Heading back into those standing marches. Getting our feet hip width, making sure we're coming straight back down in the same spot. Driving the knees up to the chest. Nice, quick, bouncing feet. Right as the other one comes down. Trying to reduce the amount of time that both feet are on the ground by as much as we can. Let's go. A few more seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Right into those reverse lunges. Getting our feet hip width apart. We're going to step back, keeping the weight over the midpoint of the toe. If you want, on this set, you can add a little bit of rotation. So you can kind of rotate a little bit. Challenge the legs just a little bit differently to help stabilize some rotational work. If you guys are big into running, this will help a lot with those muscles as you move back and forth in our running motion. Going back, forward, you can add a little bit of rotation. Keeping that weight over the midpoint of the foot. Not up onto the toes, but nice and balanced. Even press back up in our lunge. Good. A few more. And done. Good. Next up, heading into our pillar extensions. So, hands down on the ground. We're getting our feet out behind us, nice and spread, a little bit wider than hip width. And we're extending one hand out, keeping those headlights pointed down to the mat. Shoulders away from the ears. Extending out. Back and forth. Let's go. A few more. And rest. Not for too long though, because we've got those shoulder taps coming up. So getting straight back into that position, feet back, a little bit wider than hip width, and we're tapping back and forth, opposite hand to shoulder, getting things moving. We're not shaking our hips from side to side, but using our core to help stabilize from the hands all the way through the toes. Back and forth. Let's go. A few more. And done. Good. Last one of this circuit. We're going to do our squatting overhead press. So, getting our hips driven back, feet about hip width apart. We're squatting down to a nice parallel squat. Hands up, driving the elbows down to the hips, and coming back up. Staying nice and in line with the rest of the torso. Squeezing those shoulder blades together. Keeping the shoulder packed away from the ears into the torso. Got a few more here. Keep the hold. Keep that weight over the midpoint of the foot. And rest. Good. 50% of the way through, guys. Keep it up. Almost there. We're just going to go through the next circuit twice through, and with a little bit of stretching and cool down. All right. So first exercise is going to be our lateral lunge. So similar to what we were doing in the beginning, we're going to get our feet about hip width apart. We're going to open up one foot 90 degrees from our hips. Our back foot, in this case, is going to be my left foot. We're staying on the same side the whole time, and then we're going to switch. It's going to stay facing forward with our hips, and we're just going to rotate, or not rotate, but rather bend down into a side lunge, kind of like a warrior pose in yoga. Getting that knee out past the toe, getting a nice base through the back foot, toes pointed forward. Nice open lunge, getting that weight forward onto that front leg. Very good, a few more. And switch sides, rotating that foot in, other foot rotates out, and into the lunge. Very good, working on that stability and control in a little bit of a different way. Moving side to side, trying to keep those hips and shoulders square, pointing forward. A few more. And done. Nice job. We're going to go back down to our mat here. For our next exercise, we've got our snow angels. So, laying down on the mat, we're going to start with our hands out in front. We're going to pop our hands up, rotate around the back, come back out in front, bring the hands down, and pop back up. Always keeping those shoulders away from the ears, which can be really difficult here as we rotate the hand around. We really want to challenge that forward rotation of the shoulder to stay in a neutral spot, which is why it's important to pull the shoulders back and down towards the hip as we're moving through this motion. Try and go nice and slow if you're having some problems. Really focus on keeping that shoulder in a neutral spot. Let's go 2 more. And done. Good. Next up, we're going to have our eccentric push-up. One of my favorite exercises, as you guys know. So you can either get on your knees or bring your feet out. If you're feeling strong today, we're going to go very slow down on our down phase and nice and quick up, really controlling the weight down. Nice and easy, working those chest muscles in a very strong way as we control the weight down to the ground and explode back up. Let's get a few more. Last one. Woo! Last one got me. Okay, next up, we're gonna get into our Ys. So, similar to the snow angel, but we're gonna stay out in a big Y. We're laying down on our chest, thumbs pointed up to the ceiling. And we're gonna keep those shoulders packed down to the hips, pinching the shoulder blades together as we pop up, get the chest and feet up off the ground. We're gonna hold for about 5 seconds and drop back down. Coming up. Nice hold, getting that chin up, eyes forward, and down. Good. Just keeping up on those holds. We're doing 2 more after this. Last one. And done. Good. Next up, we've just got our bird dogs to finish things off. We're going 3 each side for a 5-second hold. So, getting the hands directly below the shoulder, knees directly below the hips. We're extending opposite hand and leg out into a nice flat line. Sucking that belly button up to the spine. Coming down, staying on the same side. We're going to go 3 each side. Getting a nice flat line all the way from fingertips to toes. Switching sides, if you haven't already. I might have just done 1 extra one, that's fine. All right, popping up, restarting with those lateral lunges. 75% of the way through, gotta finish strong here. Open out 1 foot, pointed 90 degrees from the hip, keeping the shoulders and the hips facing the camera. We're gonna lunge out to the side, keeping that knee coming straight out over the toe. Weight staying over the midpoint of the foot and driving that weight back up to standing. Trying to keep that heel on the ground, working that good ankle mobility. Go ahead and switch sides. Let's go a few more. All right, and good. Now, we're going to burn a little bit through these because we're running short on time. We're going to do a couple snow angels here, getting our hands out in front, popping the hands and chest up, bringing the hands around, big sweeping motions. I'd encourage slow, focused movement here, really trying to keep those shoulders in the same position the whole time as they move through that range of motion and muscular ability there. Nice and easy. Let's go one more. And down. Good. Heading into that eccentric push-up. Getting our hands directly below the shoulder. We want to pin the elbows next to the ribs as we lower the chest down. Going nice and slow. Pressing up. So for me, I take a nice deep breath in, brace my core, lower down, and exhale as I press back up. Making sure I'm getting my good breath work in. Everything is in control, locked in, and working together. It's not just the arms and the chest, but full body engagement here. One more. And good, going down into our Ys. Hands out, thumbs up to the ceiling. And we're popping the hands up, getting a nice long hold, keeping those thumbs pointed up, shoulder blades pinned down towards the hips, away from the ears, pinching back, getting that chest and chin up, eyes forward, down, and coming back up. Nice long hold. Keeping those eyes forward, chin and chest up, thumbs pointed to the ceiling, shoulders pinned back, and down. Very good. Last time, we're going to go 3 bird dogs each side. Finish things out here. And extending out, getting a nice flat line from fingertip to toe, sucking that belly button up to the spine. Coming down, 3 each side. And switch if you haven't already. And 3, good. All right, nice job. We're gonna finish out with a little bit of stretching. It is about 12:30. If you guys got to run, fully understand. If not, we're gonna go into our thread the needle stretch. So staying in that quadruped position. We're gonna get one hand underneath the armpit, rotating the shoulder down to the floor. Big exhale out as we drop that shoulder down. Laying onto that shoulder, pulling and stretching that back away from the shoulder. Coming up and rotating the hand to the ceiling, opening up the chest, reaching behind, and bringing that hand down. Bring the other one under the armpit and through. Pulling that shoulder open through the back. Nice deep breaths. And rotating up, bringing that shoulder up and over, stretching out, opening up the chest. And coming down. Last one, sitting the hips back, extending the hands out for child's pose. And coming back up. All right, I appreciate everyone who was able to make it. If you're hopping into our recording here, awesome work, way to get after it. Please check out our SharePoint if any of our other classes work for your scheduled times. Don't forget to check out our stretch breaks. Hop into my new class, Thursdays at 4 p.m., Stability and Stretch. It's an awesome one. Hope you guys have a great time and enjoyed the workout. Keep it up.